when I was young, I'm not a kid anymore. But some days I sit and wish I was a kid again. Back in the days when I was young, I'm not a kid anymore. But some days I sit and wish I was a kid again. Back in the days when I was young, I'm not a kid anymore. But some days I sit and wish I was a kid again. Back in the days when I was young, I'm not a kid anymore. But some days I sit and wish I was a kid again.
Alrighty, yo, what is going on, everybody? It's your boy, Mr. DDC94 here, back with another reaction video. Today we're finna react to You're Remembering Fairy Idol Wrong. I don't even remember Fairy Idol, but I'm finna remember it. And if this video gets blocked, you know you're gonna get the weird screen. So I gotta do what I gotta do, baby. I gotta do what I gotta do. I'm not finna react to these videos just for them to get blocked. We gonna do what we gotta do, man. For real. But anyways, though, without further ado, let's get right into it.
Fairy Idol was the 5th TV movie in the Fairly OddParents universe, following after Abracatastrophe, the iconic Channel Chasers, Jimmy Timmy Power Hour, which technically aired as an episode of Jimmy Neutron, and of course, School's Out the Musical. So Fairy Idol is the second special to involve music, but just to be clear, it is not a musical. I know it's called Fairy Idol, and it's a spoof of American Idol, which is a show literally all about singing, but there is unfortunately only one full song, and I think the episode being centered around a singing competition must give people a false memory, because some of the comments on my School's Out the Musical review weren't happy that I called it the only musical in the series, and aggressively reminded me that Fairy Idol exists too, so people seem to almost passionately remember it as a musical. And to be quite frank, I'm not sure why they didn't make this a musical. This is the same TV show that gave us Chip Skylark's hit single, My Shiny Teeth and Me, during a random episode, not even a special. And in the School's Out special, pretty much the entire soundtrack is fire. The Fairly OddParents creators have proven they know how to make banger songs. So why choose to make an entire TV movie about a singing contest for it to only include one full song? I don't really know, and it's kinda baffling to me. But does the lack of music ruin this special? Not necessarily. After all, it doesn't really matter that it's not a musical, if the special is at least good. So since Fairy Idol premiered back in 2006, and it's been an absolutely disgusting 18 years since then, I decided it was time for a rewatch to see how good the special is, despite not being full of songs. So grab your wands and wings, and let's dig in. So, the episode starts off with a cameo from Butch Hartman himself. Hiya, buddy. And right off the bat, Norm the Genie introduces himself to the mayor. And how do these two even wind up together? Did I have a stroke? The episode just starts like this, and it's really jarring. There's really no explanation to how we got here. And then I think we get a racist joke. As Norm explains the rules of how genies work, granting 3 wishes and yada yada yada, and he also complains that humans are all the same and the first wish is usually stupid, the second is always for money, power, and the third is always to undo everything they did with the first 2 wishes. The mayor is a basic ass bitch, so he wishes for something stupid first. A giant sandwich. In fact, I think it's even more stupid than that. I think it's a regular size sandwich. And then second, he wishes to be mayor of the world. Predictable. While Norm the Genie is waiting for that wish to go horribly wrong, he looks through the rules, which Cosmo gave to him because there's no pictures in it! And he discovers that if fairies quit their job as fairy godparents, then any magical creature can take over, and this could be his ticket out of being a genie. And I'll be real, if he's tired of 3 dumb wishes, how is infinite dumb wishes any better? I'm not seeing the difference here. Also, something that bugs me about Norm is that his earring simply isn't attached to his ear, it's just floating there. Norm poofs himself over to the mayor, who's in a goddamn guillotine, and Chompy is the one about to cut the goddamn cord. My god. Norm gives the mayor a script to use for wish number 3, the predictable undo wish, and the ending line of the script wishes for the lamp to appear next to Timmy Turner's best friend. We cut to Chester, who is lonely since AJ left for college, and who can't seem to get a hold of Timmy, who's been blowing him off all week. Timmy won't hang out with Chester because his parents force him to do labor around the house, and they even force him to be a human cable receptor for the TV. Chester is chillin' when suddenly the lava lamp bonks him on the goddamn head. I'm pretty sure the mayor wished for it to appear next to Chester, not on top of his goddamn skull.
And that the lamp appeared next to Timmy Turner's best friend?
Norm introduces himself as a genie, and he also gives Chester a giant sandwich right off the bat for free to stop him from making a predictable stupid first wish. So Norm can poof stuff up whenever he wants, and it doesn't have to be a verbal wish from a child. What power is he lacking exactly that a fairy godparent has that he himself doesn't already have as a genie? He even poofed up an hourglass before when he was waiting for the mayor's wish to go wrong. It seems like he can freely do magic, and I still don't get why he wants to be a fairy in the first place. We cut to Timmy, and this cracker is shown being so rude and disrespectful to his fairies. Cosmo and Wanda are getting sick of it, and he doesn't even say good morning to them. He just starts bossing them around as soon as he wakes up, and this is without any influence from the genie yet. Timmy's just being a little douche. Timmy then wishes for a toilet to appear in the middle of the goddamn bedroom because he's too lazy to walk to the bathroom. At that point, why not just wish for the poop to be outside of your body and not even use the effort pooping? Just saying. Norm poofs in unexpectedly, and Cosmo, Wanda, and Timmy go on the defensive. He then distracts Cosmo and Wanda with gifts. Wanda gets a hunky chocolate candy bar. Cosmo gets a string. He then pulls Timmy aside and says that his new master, Chester, really wants to hang out with him. He shows Timmy that he made a clone for him so that he can ditch school to hang out with Chester. And let me just say, it should probably be a red flag to Timmy that the genie didn't want to say any of this about the clone in front of Cosmo and Wanda. They don't know about it at all. They don't know he's going off to spend the day with Chester. Timmy's fairies could have been let in on the plan, or even poofed up a Timmy clone themselves so it wasn't evil like Jean's Timmy. So to exclude them from all of that and then go outside where they can't hear this conversation, it's very sus. And for Timmy not to realize that, it's kind of embarrassing. Of course, the Timmy clone goes on to torture Cosmo and Wanda all day while the real Timmy hangs out with Chester. Has a great time. Even though it's not actually Timmy, I really don't like seeing him be mean to Cosmo and Wanda. It's kind of hard to watch, and it always made me feel weird as a kid. The real Timmy leaves Chester's house after spending an awesome day together. It's kind of silly they needed magical intervention to make this happen. Like, why didn't these two friends just hang out? It's not like Timmy has a full-time job. He would have been free eventually, but I digress. Timmy gets home thinking Cosmo and Wanda had a nice relaxing day off, but really, they're tired of all the abuse, and they quit before Timmy could even get through the front door. Norm tells Timmy that his evil plan worked perfectly since now there's going to be a job opening to fill their spots, and he can have all the power of a genie, but the freedom of a fairy. Again, fairies aren't free. They still are at the beck and call of a godchild, but whatever. Then he tells Timmy that Jorgen is gonna show up in about 4 seconds to wipe his memory. Timmy runs into the closet and Norm tells the clone to get him out of there, as Jorgen rips the roof off of Timmy's house and announces that he's lost his fairies. And as a repercussion, he must forget he ever had fairy godparents. So what about all the other people in the neighborhood, in the local vicinity, who all just witnessed a giant muscular man rip the entire roof off a goddamn house after ascending down from the heavens? Does he wipe everyone's memory in the town? Someone must have seen it. Side note, he also tells Binky to play ominous music, and he accidentally cues up a little catchy tune instead, which is pretty funny, I guess. Turns out the real Timmy pushed the clone out of the closet, so real Timmy's memory fortunately stays intact while the clone's memory gets wiped. And I'm sorry, but I gotta point this out. Jorgen's packing heat in more ways than one. That bulge, It's huge.
Hey, yo.
Timmy then loses every single magical item he's ever come in contact with, and half the furniture in his room disappears. In fact, it doesn't stop at just half. It's all of it. When did Timmy wish for a shelf full of books? When did he wish for all this junk? Even his bed disappears. Did Timmy's parents never buy him a goddamn bed? Did they ask where Timmy got his bed from? He's a 10-year-old. Did they think he just robbed a Walmart? It's absolutely ridiculous. And seriously, in what world would Timmy ever wish for books? I'm being serious. In what episode was he ever going to read those books? There's specifically an episode where he makes a wish to avoid reading. Cosmo and Wanda appear in front of the press to announce they quit their job as Timmy's fairy godparents. And why is this being treated as some famous coveted role? I thought 99% of fairies had this as a job. Back with Chester, he wishes that his dad was the best baseball player in the world, and their trailer instantly gets upgraded to a mansion. And for the only time in the entire show, I think, you can actually see Chester's dad's face without it being covered up by that damn paper bag. I'm shocked. Timmy says, man, I gotta get to Fairy World, and then cut to Crocker, who conveniently has built what appears to be a working portal directly to Fairy World. Timmy breaks into Crocker's lab. Timmy then grabs some of his fairy catching equipment and jumps through the portal and lands in Fairy World. First off, Timmy broke in, assaulted Crocker, stole his goods, and then fled the scene. That is so many crimes at once, I can't believe it. Second off, why did Crocker not eventually use the portal at a later date? He doesn't stay unconscious forever. Timmy didn't break it when he went through it, so why didn't Crocker ever use that? Timmy lands in the streets of Fairy World just in time for Fairy Idol to start premiering on the TV. And remember, this episode aired in 2006, so this is a spoof of the original 3-judge panel from American Idol: Simon, Blonda, and Binky Abdul. So Binky's last name is a clear reference to Paula Abdul, the only female judge from the original panel of judges, which would mean Simon is Simon and Blonda is Randy Jackson? Oh. The first act is another racist moment, perhaps? And also references the Fairly OddParents theme song. This provides further evidence for my theory that Timmy and all the fairies are all actors who know they're performing in a TV show, especially when you consider the bloopers released as a bonus content from the Schools Out musical special. Tooth Fairy then performs My Shiny Teeth and Me for about 4.5 goddamn seconds, and then the Lawn Gnomes do a short little Not Pixies rap, which is a fun throwback to the Pixies rap from Schools Out the musical. And it's also funny when they're done, Jorgen says, "Let's hear it for the Pixies," when the whole message of their rap was, they are not pixies, they're lawn gnomes. Meanwhile, Chester's dad continues to thrive in his career as a professional baseball player, but he doesn't have time for his son anymore, and his agent constantly whisks him away. It's funny how this show gave itself a get out of jail free card for having this really cliche genie's wishes backfires trope by acknowledging it ahead of time, with Norm the genie saying it would happen because humans always do the same thing. I kinda like that. Back over at Fairy Idol, we're getting down to some finalists in the competition. Wandissimo, the April Fool, Cupid, who is still voiced by Ton Kenny, Sanderson the Pixie, Cosmo and Wanda, and Norm the Genie, who grabs the mic to introduce himself as a finalist as well. Which I think that's a great touch. That's gonna win you some votes in the end, I gotta be honest. And I just gotta point this out, Sanderson actually has an unfair advantage in this competition because he has experience performing in a rap group before with HP, as seen in Schools Out the musical. So he should be the clear winner here. Also, I gotta say, a singing competition in no way would show us who is the most fit to be a fairy godparent. Just simply wouldn't. And it's revealed that Cosmo and Wanda are competing because they still want to be fairy godparents, just not for Timmy anymore. Timmy finds the set to Fairy Idol and sneaks in, but gets caught instantly. That he has no game at all. He didn't even try to be sneaky. Bro's a loser. Wandissimo sings a 7-second poem? Chant? I can't even call it a song. It just goes, "I'm too sexy for my sexy," over and over again. And I don't don't know if Nickelodeon would want to necessarily put that in their show anymore. I don't know, maybe they'd release it today, I don't think so. And Cupid sings for like 5.2 seconds as well. I don't know, it was good I guess. Cosmo and Wanda have to perform after the commercial break. And hold on a second, commercial break? Fairies can poof up anything they want into existence within seconds. They also are never shown receiving any kind of salary or money for performing their jobs. Do they even have money? Is there a fairy economy? What is the need for commercials here? The guards lock Timmy in a cage and say after the show he's going to have a violent chat with Jorgen. And I sure hope that has nothing to do with the heat he was packing earlier. Timmy panics, realizing if Jorgen finds him there, he'll realize that he didn't really wipe his memory. Luckily, he still has Crocker's backpack full of magical items to help him escape. Meanwhile, Sanderson is performing a rap solo, and this is where that experience rapping with HP will come in to help him. He's spitting straight bars, and this is the only other like 25-second, 30-second song in the special, and it's really catchy. Timmy catches Cosmo and Wanda in a butterfly net, and they scream, "Oh no, it's Crocker." And when he explains, "Oh no, it's Timmy Turner," they scream, "Even worse." That's gotta hurt, man. That has got to hurt. Back on Earth, Chester's dad keeps ignoring him to party with his rich friends and all his adoring fans. There are people who would still spend time with their family if they were rich and famous. Chester's dad is simply a jerk. He turns down hanging out with his son for some, admittedly, smoking babes. I guess I get it. Nickelodeon softens the blow of this dark plot by making a one-liner joke about Chester still hating the banjo. Which, yeah, I guess it's been a running gag in this special that he doesn't like the banjo. And back at Fairy Idol, I think it's funny how when Sanderson is on stage, there's a quick cut to HP in the audience with a label, Sanderson's friend. I don't know, I just think it's funny. Wanda says to Timmy, "Wait, how can you remember us? Jorgen wiped your memory." And Timmy explains that no, he wiped a clone's memory, and he starts telling them about Norm's evil plot with the clone. But Timmy does admit that he was the one bossing them around all morning, and not the clone, and they're pissed. He gives Cosmo an apology cookie, and Cosmo forgives him, but Wanda is still pissed. Women, am I right? And if you're a woman watcher, I'm kidding, I'm joking, alright? At the McBadbat mansion, they wake up after a wild all-night rager, and the feds have shown up along with the repo men who come and take away the mansion, and Chester's dad says, "Days like these make me think I'd be happier if I lived in a mobile home." When Chester wished for his dad to be a famous baseball star, did he also wipe his memory? Does he not remember being a failure at all? Did he create an alternate timeline with that wish? What the hell happened here? Cosmo and Wanda are still mad at Timmy, but they help him hide from Jorgen by telling him Timmy is their pet beaver, which honestly, I can see it. Wanda explains that even if they win the competition, they'll be assigned to the most miserable kid on Earth, not necessarily Timmy. He says, "I'm miserable without you." And Wanda says, "We're miserable with you." And Timmy just makes pouty eyes at her that honestly make my heart hurt. I'm not gonna lie, it makes me sad. And then Give Me the Wand starts playing, which is a 10 out of 10 banger. Jorgen asks Cosmo and Wanda which one of them is going to be singing, because there's no duets allowed and only one of them can sing. Cosmo then says that during the first part of the song, he poofed home and read a quick guide called How to Sing Like Diana DeGarmo. And I wasn't sure who that was, but I looked it up, and turns out she rose to fame in 2004 as a runner-up of the third season of American Idol. Since this episode aired in 2006, she must have been pretty relevant at the time, still in the American Idol world. And when Cosmo starts to sing and a female voice comes out, it's actually her real voice, which is actually a really cute cameo. And she also starred on Broadway, so no wonder this song is such a banger. And by the way, Jorgen says no duets are allowed, and that's why Cosmo and Wanda both can't sing, but then this clearly is a duet between the genie Norm and Cosmo. It's a duet. There's two of them singing at once back and forth. There's no other way to put it, duet. After the performance, Jorgen tells the contestants, "Remember, if you don't win today, you'll always be losers," which is a good message to remember in life. Cosmo and Wanda end up winning, but the rules state that if they can't fulfill their duties, then the runner-up will take over. And then, Norm gives Jorgen a rope to distract distract him, and he says, "Yeah, rope. It's like string, but manlier," which is a great callback joke. Norm then captures Cosmo and Wanda in a butterfly net to assassinate them with a wrecking ball. And this part legit shocked me. They literally get smashed to bits with a wrecking ball. They are defenseless, and they actually get goddamn hurt. And Jorgen is just like, okay, new winner, I guess, and takes Norm on stage. What about the dead bodies? You've known Cosmo and Wanda for I don't know how many hundreds of years. You should be a little upset. Better yet, you should investigate how that just happened behind your back so quickly. Norm gets assigned to Chester, who is the most miserable kid on earth after his dad is taken away by the feds and he's left alone with his banjo. And the banjo catches a lot of strays in this special, and honestly, I kind of like a good banjo every now and then. Timmy screams no as Cosmo and Wanda's dead bodies are taken away in a stretcher. My god. Jorgen then staples wings into Norm's back, and Norm can already fly, so this is purely for the aesthetic, and I didn't see any numbing agent applied. That's torture and body horror. It's unacceptable. Staples in the back? My god. The mutilated Norm poofs to Chester and says, "Congratulations, I'm your new fairy godparent." And Chester says, "Sweet," and wishes for his life to go back to the way it was with his dad as a disgraced and hated baseball player, living in shame once again. Norm grants the wish and then gives Chester a pager to summon him anytime he wants to make a wish, and then he pieces out. It's interesting that Norm has actually fully achieved his end goal here. Like, this was the final stage of his plan. It was the goal, it was the finish line. He wanted to be a fairy, and he did it. And I think that's kind of crazy. Over with Cosmo and Wanda, they're in full body casts, and Timmy starts to sob when suddenly they're just okay again. Timmy says, "Of course my tears of love brought you back to life," and Cosmo says, "No, fairies are just fast healers." And he demonstrates by self-harming repeatedly, and it's absolutely disgusting. Even as a cartoon, it was hard for me to look at. And back with Chester, he's deciding what to wish for next now that he has a fairy godparent, and he ultimately decides to wish for a better world. Sheesh. Timmy in 5 seasons thus far has not thought to wish for a better world, and Chester has had fairies for what? Fucking a couple minutes? And he's already wishing for it? That's great. Why does Chester never get real fairies after this? He clearly deserves them. And when Chester pages Norm, he was summoned immediately and said he was the bottom of the 9th of a big baseball game. But he grants Chester's wish anyway, giving him a flying carpet to travel the world and try to make it a better place. Chester's next wish is for it to rain in the Sahara Desert, and his heart is in the right place, but that's definitely not good for the ecosystem, I don't think. Then he feels really bad for the penguins and expects that they must be too cold, so he wishes for global warming, and all the creatures struggle to survive in these new conditions. Chester then goes to a science research lab and he summons Norm to make another wish. And the show contradicts itself here because Norm seems surprised when he's poofed over, like it happened unexpectedly against his will, while he was in the middle of enjoying a date. But we just saw from the previous wish that it's like a notification coming through and he has to click accept. They showed us this moments ago when he was on the beach. So which is it? Chester wishes for every bald guy to have great hair, and this includes AJ, and I find it kind of weird for the show to acknowledge that they made a 10-year-old character bald, but alright. Timmy tries to leave Fairy World with Cosmo and Wanda, but they tell him they can't grant him any wishes. He says, "But I apologized and you guys forgave me." And Wanda says, "Yes, but we aren't technically your fairies anymore." Cosmo offers that they can walk him home before they have to say goodbye forever, and Timmy sadly asks if they can take the long way home. Back on Earth, there is a news report announcing that the Sahara Desert is flooding, the ice in the North Pole is melting, and that scientists have quit working on science now that they no longer have to grow hair and they can finally meet girls with their cool new do's. Side note, it bothers me that it's not the same Santa nor the same North Pole seen in the Christmas Everyday special, but whatever. Chester sees the news report and feels extremely guilty for ruining the world, and just then Timmy walks by all depressed on his journey home with Cosmo and Wanda. Chester, in one final act of pure-hearted unselfishness, wishes for Norm to go be Timmy's fairy godparent instead. Norm tells Timmy, "Congratulations, your new fairy godparent is me." He then brags about tricking Chester, and Chester overhears this and runs off deeply upset. Timmy says to Norm, "You may be my fairy godparent, but I'm not going to make any wishes." Norm says, "Okay, why would I care?" And Timmy chuckles, saying, "Don't you know what happens to fairies who don't grant wishes?" 2 weeks later, and Norm actually explodes due to magical build-up pressure overload from not granting enough wishes. He's reduced to a mere pile of confetti, and Cosmo and Wanda sweep him up, and it's kind of ridiculous. The muscular Santa then swims up to the girls Norm had been hitting on and says, "Hey ladies, how'd you like for it to be Christmas every day?" And that's a clear reference to Fairly OddParents' holiday special titled Christmas Every Day, so they're referencing it, and that means they do remember it, so there's no reason why this should be a different Santa and a different North Pole here, but whatever. Okay, no, not whatever, it pisses me off. Timmy tells Norm he'll poof him back to his fairy form if he agrees to poof everything back to the way it was, and Norm agrees. But as soon as Norm is in his genie fairy form, he says, "I quit." And then, out of nowhere, Jorgen shows up again, and he's about to take away Timmy's memory again, when suddenly, Chester bursts out from the closet, and how long was he in there? I guess that's where he ran off to when he ran away earlier, but how long was he waiting there, and how did he know for a fact that would be where Timmy and Norm would have a standoff? Chester points out that he still has his third genie wish, and he then uses it to wish everything could go back to the way it was before he ever met Norm, essentially undoing the entire episode. Norm is then sucked back into the lamp and everything is undone, so he's trapped and stuck back as a genie again. Timmy then wakes up and everything is back to normal with both of his fairies safe and sound in their little fishbowl. He tells Wanda and Cosmo he loves them and to enjoy their day off. He then goes off to spend the day playing with Chester. And see, I told you they didn't need magic or clones for this to happen, they could have just done this at any time. Cosmo also says, "Wow, a day without magic." And then Wanda says, "Wait, how long did he say he'd be gone?" And then we cut to 24 hours later where they both explode from magical backup. Why did it take Norm 2 full weeks to explode? Is granting wishes kind of like developing a drug tolerance of sorts? Do Cosmo and Wanda grant way more wishes than Norm so they have to grant more or they blow up quicker? It's all kind of weird implications here. And with that, the credits start to roll. So, after the credits start making their way down the screen and everything is said and done, was Fairy Idol any good? Does it measure up to the other iconic specials like Channel Chasers? Well, let's start off with a few things I liked. Norm the Genie is a really cool character. I love his voice, even though it's a different voice actor than in his other 2 appearances on the show before this. And I love his sarcastic personality and wish he was utilized in the main series more. He's a great villain because he actually is a viable threat. He was able to orchestrate his evil plan successfully all the way to completion. He convinced Cosmo and Wanda to quit being Timmy's fairies. He brutalized them after losing the singing competition, and he got assigned to a godchild as a fairy. That was his entire goal, and he accomplished it, and then he just didn't like it that much. But it's extremely rare that a kid's show villain has his plan actually work, and I think it really adds to the threat of Norm's character. As it stands now, he only seems to appear in about 4 episodes of the mainline series, and I think that's a shame. Now, let's talk about the music. Even though there was only 1 full song, and even that song was a bit short, it was a banger. I have been randomly humming Give Me the Wand to myself for the past 18 years, and it has never left my mind since the first time I heard it all those years ago. Absolutely iconic, 12 out of 10. I also really love the whole Fairy Idol competition, even just as a setting for this plot. I remember that portion of the special extremely vividly, even all these years later, and I feel like overall most of the special stuck with me even 18 years later. So at the very least, it's memorable. But even with everything I loved about the special, I still have to say, I didn't really love it that much. It's hard to explain, but this special didn't really do anything for me that made it stand out as a true great. Its plot wasn't quite as epic as Channel Chasers, the vibe wasn't as funky as Schools Out the Musical, and it wasn't as unique as Jimmy Timmy Power Hour. The plot kind of just happens. Honestly, if not for Gimme the Wand, I would possibly call this one forgettable, but that song alone makes it a whole entire notch higher on the scale. It's that good. It's so good, it's almost annoying. But enough of me yapping. What do you guys think of Fairy Idol? Do you remember this one from your childhood? And did Cosmo singing in the female voice give you confused sexual feelings? Yeah, me Me neither. Yeah. Let me know in the comments what you guys think of this one, and let's kick it. Also, give me a love.
I don't remember this one, so this is like, I don't remember this one. I do remember the genie having a special, an hour-long special, but I don't remember this one. I don't remember the plot of it or nothing. I probably saw it one time and never thought about it again. That's probably what it was. But if I had to grade it though, this would be the weakest one. I wouldn't say it's the worst. It seems entertaining enough to watch or sit through, but it's probably the weakest out of all the specials. Out of all the specials, this would probably be the weakest by far.